What's up, guys? Today we're going to go over the 7 most important guard retention principles. We're going to get right into it here. Principle number 1 is 1 leg high and 1 leg low. Okay, so what does this mean exactly? So when we're in the guard and when we have our back on the mat, we need to make sure that we're not just here, not with our feet in the same plane or in the same line. If my feet are in the same line, it's very easy for my opponent to grab my legs and start passing my guard, okay? So we want to at least have 1 high and 1 low and constantly moving to make it more difficult for him to grab my feet. So for example, if my feet are moving, go ahead and try and grab my feet. It's difficult to grab my feet and I can constantly move. And if he does grab a grip, it's easier for me to pull the grip and start entering into a more stable position, okay? So that is the first principle. We're not allowing our feet to remain in the same plane or the same line, okay? Principle number 2 is pummel. Do not hip escape, okay? So why am I saying this exactly? As we're getting past, as he goes for a leg drag, if we were to put our legs on the mat in this situation to kind of hip escape and then go back into a guard, this is opening up space between my knees and my elbows, and that'll lead us into the third principle, which is knees to chest and elbows to knees, okay? So going back to the second principle, pummel, do not hip escape. As my opponent brings my legs to the side, we always want to bring our outside leg in front and pummeling inside, shifting our hips, always trying to keep my hips square with my opponent's hips on top. Okay, and again, if he goes to the other side, I throw my leg over and I shift my hips. A very common drill that you'll see in a lot of beginner programs is they throw their legs to the side, the top leg goes over, and you shift and back and forth. Go ahead. And at times as well, you can always use your hands to block him walking around. So if Judo really tries to pass my guard, and I block, I throw my pummel and shift. All right. Once again, always trying to keep my hips square with his hips. Now, going back to the third principle that we talked about, knees to chest, elbows to knees, all right? So this principle is very, very important. I would say it's one of the most important out of the 7 principles. So what does this mean exactly? We always want to keep our knees to our chest and our elbows to our knees. In order for my opponent to pass the guard, he must create space between my elbows and knees. For example, if he starts passing my guard, if I keep my elbows and knees locked, it's very difficult. He can put all the pressure he wants, but it's very difficult for him to pass the guard, and I can create space, bring my legs in play, and start pummeling like we did in the second principle, okay? And if I allow this space creation by my opponent, it's very easy for him to go on knee and belly and really start stabilizing the side control position. So once again, the third principle is knees to chest and elbows to knees, all right? Now, number 4, again, a very, very important principle, 4 points of contact. How you can remember that? Number 4 points of contact, okay? Now, what does 4 points of contact mean exactly? It basically means that we need to use all 4 of our limbs. Both of our hands and both of our feet need to be active the whole time while we are in guard, all right? What does this mean? So as my opponent is playing and trying to pass my guard, I need to always try and create 4 grips and 4 points of contact. Look how my feet are always active, whether it be on his hip, maybe his shoulder, maybe his bicep, and my hands are always active as well. They're switching to the pants, maybe an overhook, maybe a collar, always using all the limbs that I have in order to off-balance my opponent, sit up, and start really attacking, okay? So once again, 4 points of contact is principle number 4. Now, principle number 5 is the upper body needs to always follow the lower body. Now, what do I mean by this? When my opponent really starts putting pressure and pressure passing my guard, for example, let's say he's going into a side smash situation, okay? And come around here, come closer. Now, he's in a side smash situation here. Now, for him to really stabilize this position and put a lot of pressure and really get around my guard, he's going to have to create separation between my upper body and lower body and start twisting my spine, okay? He's trying to basically force me into a supine spinal stretch, which is a very common yoga position. And in that position, you're really twisting the spine and you're separating the upper body, my upper body, from the lower body. I want to always keep my body to the side like this. I always want to keep my upper body and lower body in the same plane, just like so, okay? And so he's going to be constantly trying to use his shoulder to force my chest down to the mat and split me apart. And what do I need to do? I need to stay on my side, I need to stay tight, and I need to start trying to invert, always keeping my body in line, always keeping my spine, the largest lever, in line, okay? That is principle number 5. Upper body follows the lower body, okay? Now, principle number 6. This next one rhymes a little bit. It's pull with strong grips. 6 and grips rhyme a little bit. So what does this mean exactly? We always want to, when we're trying to initiate the guard, is to pull with strong grips. Now, there's a few main grips that you'll find in jiu-jitsu, and you'll see that they're either sleeve grips, like so, even like so, or collar grips, lapel grips, belt grips, and even pant grips, okay? So you would not want to grab a random thigh or anything like this. They're very easy to break. So remember, we want to pull with one of these strong grip controls. And if we pull with a strong grip control, my opponent will have to take away that grip or break that grip in order for him to actually start passing the guard, okay? Whereas if I were to pull with a weak grip, maybe I grab his thigh and try and pull, it's very easy for him to pass my guard right away, and I'll be in a bad situation right off the get-go, which is the last thing we want to do. So once again, number 6 is pull with strong grips. Okay, and the last principle is principle number 7. And principle number 7 mainly refers to when you're in the seated guard position and you're trying to initiate your opponent, okay? So when you're in the seated guard position, one thing to always note, which is principle number 7, is that your head should stay in front of your hip line, okay? Why is this important? If my head is behind my hip line, it's very easy for my opponent to start pushing me backwards and putting me in a bad situation, which would be an open guard with no grips and no controls. So for example, if my head is back here, he can push me. He can even honestly just push my back if he wants to. Just push my back, you know, exactly. And I'm in this situation and he can start passing Toriando very quickly, okay? So once again, if I keep my head in front of my hip line, like so, if he tries to push me back, it's very difficult. I'm not moving anywhere. And that'll allow me time to grab a strong grip and then really pull into, once again, principle number 4, 4 points of contact, okay? So as a quick refresher, what are the 7 principles of guard retention? Number 1, one leg high and one leg low. Number 2, pummel, do not hip escape. Number 3, knees to chest, elbows to knees. Number 4, 4 points of contact. Number 5, upper body follows the lower body. Do not allow your spine to twist in those side smash and half guard positions. Number 6, pull with strong grips. And number 7, the final principle is head in front of hips. All right? So those are the 7 principles. As you're training jiu-jitsu, and if you do get past, you can kind of go back to these principles and think, which principle did I not follow? And then that's kind of what you need to work on, right? So please use this video as a reference as you're training, and I'll see you guys soon. Os.